All right, sorry we got interrupted. So we're gonna do another example of this. Remember, this is your final answer right here. These are your prime factors. Okay. So let's take a look at, that was this one right here. So we're gonna take a look at this next one. So x squared, so we'll call this one example 2, x squared plus 10x plus 9. Okay, so again, I like to set up a chart just like this. This is how they do it in your book as well. Then you kind of have to figure it out. So what multiplies to get to 9, but adds to get to 10? Okay, so what are my multiples of 9? We got 1 times 9, obviously. And then we have 2 times, nope, and we have 3 times 3. All right, that's nice. We only have a few options. 1 plus 9 is 10. 3 plus 3 is 6. Well, I want it to add up to 10, so I know that these dudes are our answers. So I'm going to take x. Well, I know my first terms need to add or need to multiply to get x squared. And then I can take my 1 plus 1 and plus 9, and that's my answer. You should always check. Make sure that you got your stuff correct. By distributing, you get x squared. X times 9 is 9x. And then I do 1 times x and 1 times 9. Okay, combine these puppies and we get x squared plus 10x plus 9. And look at that, they're the same thing. So we know that this is our answer. X plus 1 times x plus 9. Now, it's not always that easy. That is the easiest form that we have. Let's play with some negative numbers now. Okay, so we got this guy done. Let's do example number 3. What happens if you have negative numbers? Okay, so we have negative 22a, but a positive out here. Well, remember, it's what multiply to get the last guy, so that's 21. Multiply to get to 21, but add to get to the middle guy. Well, if you're adding numbers, so add to get to negative 22. Okay, 1 second. So if we add to make negative 22, so let's do multiply to positive 21. Well, I could do 1 and 21, but I could also do negative 1 and negative 21. Those also get me to a positive 20, to a positive 21. We could do 3 and 7, or we could do negative 3 and negative 7. Those work as well. So let's try them out. We need to figure out which ones add up to negative 22. Well, if I add these ones together, I get positive 22, negative 22, 10, and negative 10. Well, obviously this would be our one that we want to use. So we take these numbers and it's a minus 1, parentheses, a minus 21, parentheses. Check it, make sure that you did it right, but that is your answer at the end of the day. Okay, so that's negative numbers. Now, what if this, so that was this being negative. What about if the last guy's negative and this guy's positive? Okay, don't try and memorize just a formula for, okay, if it's negative in the middle, I do this. If it's negative on the outside, I do this. Set up your T-chart and lay out your stuff. So, example number 4. That was example 3. Okay. Example 4, y squared plus 13y minus 48. 8 minus 48, okay? So we need to multiply to get negative 48, but we need to add to get 13, okay? Because when you add the two middle terms, that's how you end up getting this 13. All right, negative 48. Well, obviously I can do a positive 1 and a negative 48. One option. I could also do a negative 1 and a positive 48. Another option. What's that? Bigger. All right, I can write bigger. Okay, we have a 1 and a negative 48, a negative 1 and a positive 48. I could do 2 and 24, 2 and 24, but one of them needs to be negative. Yes, one of them needs to be negative. And I need to do negative 24, or negative 24 and positive 2. Okay, well, if I start, there's a lot that I can do, a lot of factors I can line out here. Let's just see if any of these work for what I want to do. So this is negative 47. This is positive 47. This is 22. This is negative 22. Well, I'm not getting my plus 13 that I want, so I got to keep going, unfortunately. So let me think. Okay, 48 and 3. 1, 3, 1, 8, 16. Okay, so 3 and 16. And one of them needs to be negative, and the other one positive. 3 and then the flip-flop, negative 16. Okay, so this one adds up to 13. This one adds up to negative 13. Aha. So I want a plus 13, which is going to be this guy. I found what I needed. So that is going to be what my answer is. I'm going to make it y minus 3, y plus 16. Okay, so that is your answer then. Now, if you have any questions on that, send me a question through Google Classroom and I will respond. Or tomorrow at 9 o'clock, I will be on the Google Meet. There's a thing for it on Google Classroom that you can just sign in. Make sure that you have a camera of some sort and I can answer questions. Now, the whole second part of the lesson is what do you do with these things after they're done being factored? And that's where this 0 gets brought into it, or any number for that matter. But usually it's going to be 0. So if you want to solve for these, okay, so solving is usually going to have 2 answers, but not always. So let's say that you're solving. When you solve, you want to set each part equal to 0. Okay, so let's say that we're doing this problem right here. Y minus 3, parentheses, y plus 16 equals 0. But once you get to this part and you have done your factoring, this is a pretty easy problem from here. If this part right here equals 0, well, 0 times y plus 16 equals 0. Because 0 times anything is always going to be 0. Whereas if we had y minus 3 times, well, if we made this guy equal to 0, so 0, well, that's going to be 0, because 0 times anything is always 0. So on this one, we're going to have 2 answers. So if I have, so I need to find out what makes y minus 3 equal to 0. I also need to find out what makes y plus 16 equal to 0. So you take each of these parts and set it equal to this number right here. And that's how you find your answers. So then you just do your algebra that you're all professionals at. Y equals 3 is one answer. Subtract by 16. Again, this does get harder, but you get the idea. So y equals 3 and y equals negative 16 are your answers for this. Okay, I'll do one more of these examples and then we will call it quits for this video. Let's just say that I do my factoring, the thing we did in the first half of the lesson, and we get x minus 2, x plus 11 equals 0. So you already did all your factoring and you get these two things. So then I take each one of them, x minus 2 equals 0 and x plus 11 equals 0, and I solve. Add by 2, we get x equals 2. That's one of our answers. Minus 11, and I get x equals negative 11. That's our other answer. Okay, and if you want to write this nicely, you would write it like this. X equals, then you draw your little curly Q's. That was a terrible curly Q. I just call them curly Q's. It's really a bracket though, fancy bracket. Negative 11 goes first because it's smaller, and then 2 would go second. End brackets. Circle your answer, and that's how you do it. Okay? All right.